AI's dirty secret, the stolen data hiding inside and the billion-dollar war over it. Every time someone chats with an artificial intelligence and marvels at how smart it sounds, they are seeing the result of something hidden. These systems did not learn to write code or reason out of thin air. They learned by studying an almost unimaginable amount of human work, much of it taken without asking. That secret pile of training data is the real engine behind every AI model. And right now it is at the center of a legal war worth billions of dollars. By the end, what is really fueling these machines will be clear, so stay to the finish. Start with the basic question. How does an AI model actually learn? It learns by example on a massive scale. To build one of these systems, companies feed it enormous collections of text, images, and code, then let it study the patterns. By processing billions of sentences, the model slowly learns how language works, what facts tend to go together, and how to respond. It is a bit like a student who reads an entire library, except this library contains a huge slice of everything ever posted online that points to the heart of the matter. Where does all this data come from? Overwhelmingly, from the internet. To gather enough material, companies have scraped vast amounts of content from across the web, including books, news articles, blog posts, forum discussions, computer code, art, and music. If something was publicly visible online, there is a strong chance it was swept up and used as training material. For years, this was the quiet assumption of the whole industry, that anything reachable on the open internet was fair game. Here is why that assumption became a problem. Whose work is in there? A great deal of it belongs to other people. The books were written by authors. The articles were written by journalists. The art was made by artists. And the code was written by programmers. Most of these creators had no idea their work was being used to train commercial AI systems, and they were never asked for permission or paid for it. As the technology exploded in value, many of them began to ask a simple question. Why should a company profit from their work without their consent? That question has erupted into a wave of lawsuits. How big is the legal fight? Enormous. Authors, news organizations, artists, music labels, and software developers have filed dozens of lawsuits against the biggest AI companies. They argue that scraping and using their copyrighted work without permission is theft on a massive scale. The companies, in turn, defend themselves with a legal idea called fair use, arguing that training an AI is a transformative act that creates something genuinely new rather than simply copying the original. The stakes in this battle are hard to overstate. Why does so much money ride on it? Because the outcome could reshape the entire industry. In one landmark case, a major AI company agreed to a settlement worth around $1.5 billion over its use of pirated books, one of the largest copyright payouts in history. Other cases are still grinding through the courts, with creators seeking enormous sums. If creators win big across the board, some AI companies could face crippling costs. If the companies win, creators may get nothing for work that helped build a trillion-dollar technology. The courts are starting to draw some important lines. What have judges decided so far? The picture is still forming, but one key distinction has emerged. In a closely watched ruling, a judge suggested that training an AI on legally obtained material might qualify as fair use, but that using pirated copies, downloaded from illegal sources, does not. In other words, how the data was gathered may matter just as much as how it was used. That single idea is now shaping how many of these cases are being fought. One striking thing about this whole debate is how secretive the companies are about what exactly is inside their models. The training sets are often treated as closely guarded trade secrets, with firms reluctant to reveal precisely which books, sites, and works they used. Part of the reason is competitive, since the data is a huge part of what makes one model better than another. But part of it is legal caution, because admitting exactly what went in could expose a company to even more lawsuits from the people whose work was used. There is another thorny question lurking underneath all of this. What about what the AI produces? Some lawsuits focus not just on the training data, but on the output. If a system can be prompted to reproduce a news article almost word for word, or generate an image clearly copied from an artist's style, is that infringement? Critics say yes, that the machine is simply repackaging stolen work. The companies argue their systems learn general patterns rather than memorizing specific works. Untangling that difference is one of the hardest parts of the entire fight. Faced with all this risk, the industry is starting to change its approach. How are companies responding? Increasingly, by making deals, rather than fight every battle in court. Some AI firms have begun signing licensing agreements with publishers, news outlets, and music companies, paying for the right to use their content. This shift suggests a future where training data is bought and licensed rather than simply taken. The era of grabbing everything on the internet for free may be drawing to a close, replaced by a more negotiated and expensive system. This whole conflict reveals a deeper tension at the core of the technology. Why is it so hard to resolve? Because both sides have a real point. AI companies argue that learning from existing work is how all knowledge advances, much as a human writer learns by reading many books. Creators counter that there is a difference between a person being inspired and a machine consuming millions of works to build a product that may compete with the very people it learned from. Both arguments carry genuine weight, which is exactly why the courts are struggling. For individual creators, the practical reality is complicated. Most authors and artists do not have the money to fight a giant technology company in court for years. That is why class action lawsuits, where many creators band together, have become so important, giving ordinary people a way to push back as a group. Looking ahead, many experts believe the fairest path is a system where creators can choose to license their work and get paid when it helps train an AI, rather than discovering after the fact that it was taken. The outcome will shape far more than a few company balance sheets. What is really at stake? The future relationship between human creativity and artificial intelligence. The rules being written now will decide whether creators are partners who get paid, or raw material that gets used for free. They will influence how future models are built, what they are allowed to learn from, and who benefits from the value they create. This is not a minor squabble over old data. It is a fight over the ground rules of a new technological age. So the next time an AI gives a brilliant answer, it is worth remembering the hidden library behind it, and the people whose work fills its shelves. These systems are astonishing, but they did not build themselves. They stand on a vast foundation of human effort, and the world is only now deciding how that effort should be valued. The legal war over training data is just beginning, and how it ends may shape the relationship between people and machines for generations. If this opened your eyes to what powers AI, give the video a like and subscribe for more. Tell us in the comments whether you think training on public data should be allowed. Ware Vault has more ahead, so stay with us.